right, I'm going to share the screen. Okay, perfect. Now, the first thing I want to go over is just, I'm going to post this also, but I'm just going to go over some terminology. And I'm going to try to explain it just in the simplest terms, but I got to explain some of this terminology to get in to what we're going to do. So there's a word called autophagy, and autophagy is just a cellular process that helps maintain cellular balance called homeostasis by degrading and recycling damaged cells, proteins, organelles. If this process is impaired, it's been linked to aging and reduced longevity and disease. So basically, autophagy is a pre-programmed cell software program that when the cell or organelle recognizes that it's weak or damaged, it self-destructs, okay? Mitophagy is now narrowing that focus down from a cell into an organelle, specifically the mitochondria, and it's in the process by which the mitochondria recognizes that somehow its software program, its DNA is damaged, it's not functioning well, so its program says, I'm going to blow up. Now, the term heteroplasmy describes the situation in which two or more mitochondrial DNA variants exist in the same cell. So they're competing. One may be a healthy set of mitochondrial DNA, the other set is corrupted. When that happens, the mitochondria does not act normally, and that is our powerhouse, our generator of our body. It really controls, it's the software of the body. We have our genetic DNA, which is our blue eyes, brown hair, blonde hair, male, female. And then the mitochondrial DNA kind of allows our body to operate normally. And when it's operating at an amazing level, we stay young, youthful for a very, very long time. And when heteroplasmy is off, we don't do well. And I am going to just show a picture. Now, again, this is all in the 8A human optimization. We're going to go over a little bit of it here so you guys could recap and review it for later. And this is a Patreon deal, so when it goes on YouTube, you guys won't be able to see this other than this picture here. Now, so this is showing normal mitochondria and dysfunctional mutant mitochondria. Everything's cool when it's 100%, even 40% mutant, even 60% mutant. Once it reaches a threshold, about 70% corrupted DNA, disease starts to take place. And Douglas Wallace, who's one of the foremost researchers in the world on mitochondria, he basically said, even though it's quantum, not linear, he says, will lose 10% per decade. So this basically means by age 70, we've lost 70% of mitochondrial function and disease starts to take place. Being that it's quantum, it could happen at age 2. It could happen at age 98. So, why do some young children get glioblastoma brain cancers at age 1, 2, 3, 10? Why do some people smoke, drink till age 98 and still live a great life? So it's quantum, it's not linear. It's based on a lot of different qualities, but you can see if it were linear at about 70% loss, disease starts to take place. Now, the signaling of cell death and mitophagy, so autophagy and mitophagy, equals the percent of heteroplasmy, how much corrupted mitochondria there is, and the amount of light energy transferred to physiologic power. Meaning, in my mind, and it will go to this last statement here, we operate proportional to the light habits, good or bad. So how we live our life connected to the natural world, for the most part, playing, running, exercising, our light habits, our mitochondria functions better, the heteroplasmy rate decreases, and we live a longer, healthier life. Now, interventions that can be done, and again, on that 8A document at the bottom, it gives it a lot of interventions. My favorite is ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting. It increases free fatty acids, an effect associated with activation of mitochondrial biogenesis, meaning making new mitochondria. So if we exercise, strength training, cardio, ketogenic diet, we can make more mitochondria to make up for the lost mitochondria. So as far as I'm concerned, following a ketogenic diet or engaging in caloric restriction or intermittent fasting throughout a lifetime enhances this mitochondrial biogenesis as well as healthy mitochondria turnover, and we live a longer, healthier life. Most people, though, based on statistics, are not doing this. And all the statistics come out are showing that cancer is increasing in younger adults. The death rate in 39s to 65 is the trend of increasing longevity, or more people being healthy or living in that range now is diminishing. So we're reversing our aging process now. And by doing this, we get consequential improvements in mitochondrial function in multiple tissue and cell types, basically all tissues and cell types. Now, again, review the 8A. Now, last couple terms, what is cellular senescence? Senescent cells are unique in that they eventually stop multiplying but don't die off. We do not want these, okay? These are also called zombie cells because they live, they're corrupted, they don't function normally. Senescent cells in elderly are not able to maintain normal physiologic tissue functions, nor tissue repair, including autophagy. They do not even recognize they are corrupted, whose capacity declines with aging. If the elimination of senescent cells does not occur, senescent cells accumulate and can lead to cancer, aging, and many other chronic diseases. Now, senescence can be triggered by oxidative stress. So we're going to get into a little bit deeper here when we get into the journals, but there's only two chemical reactions in chemistry. You're either reducing something, you're adding an electron, you're benefiting, you're antioxidizing, or you're oxidizing. You're stripping an electron, you're breaking down, you're rusting, you're decaying. So it's triggered by oxidative stress, DNA damage, mitochondrial dysfunction. We don't have to worry about this one, chromatin disruption, inflammation, and epigenetic dysregulation. Now, redox potential. So we have oxidation, and then we have redox potential. So you can take an antioxidant, or we have our innate ability to have a redox reaction. It's called redox potential. It's our ability to molecular level to easily and efficiently acquire electrons. Think antioxidants like vitamin C donating electrons when needed, as well as having the resiliency to not oxidize. All these things are keys. Lose electrons, which makes molecules unstable. You guys, almost all of the Patreon videos interlink, even though they're not on the exact same topic. They all interlink because health is achieved only one way. Disease is really only achieved one way. So electrons allow us to absorb more light. We operate proportional to our light habits, good or bad. Are we in the sun? Are we in artificial light at night? Are we on our phones until 1 in the morning? Are we seeing sunrises and sunsets? Are we exercising indoors at the gym? What we surround ourselves with. Now, grounding while observing the sunrise, grounding while observing the sun rise, is an amazing way to increase your redox potential. So grounding, we absorb electrons from the earth. The light allows us to absorb electrons allow us to absorb light more efficiently. We operate via near-infrared lights. Basically 45% of the light outside our body operates off that near-infrared. So if we think about living an ancestral life, barefoot or wearing animal skin shoes connected to the earth while being in the sun all day, wearing linen very loose knitted fabric to no clothes, maybe just an animal skin cloth, exercising, chasing our food, eating a super high fat, protein rich diet with very little sugar, no highly processed foods of any kind, great water, no EMF, no chemtrails. I mean, it would be an amazing existence. That was our initial incredible redox potential with very low mitophagy, very low heteroplasmy rate, very low senescent and zombie cells, because we were just living a completely normal life. Now there is no such a thing as that being a normal life. It's a normal life for some, a very few percentage of people. Our normal life is living in an artificial light, artificially controlled boxed canned food, rubber soled shoes. There's nothing real around us. So nowadays we actually have to make a concerted, purposeful effort to try to do something that would resemble an ancestral life. So you guys have heard me a million times. We have to put in our 40-hour work week, and we have families, and then we got to take care of chores. But during our free time, try to get some of that in. It's super important. And you're going to see why it's so important here in just a second. So please review 8A, and at the bottom, how to improve your redox potential and symptoms of a lower redox potential. And if you want me to review during question and answer, we can. Now, I'm going to go over just a few quick journals. And I never knew there was this little app on Google Chrome, and I'm so stoked that I found it. Now I can highlight everything. So this is on Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, basically neurodegenerative disease. I'm only going to read the highlighted parts, and then we'll open it up to question and answers. But this is a research study in Alzheimer's research and therapy that addresses possible association between chronic stress and mild cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's disease. The study shows how people age between, now it's dropping down to 18, age between 18 and 65 with previous diagnosis of chronic stress and depression were more likely than other people to be diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's disease. The study shows that the risk of Alzheimer's disease was more than twice as high in patients with chronic stress and in patients with depression as it was in patients without either condition. In patients with both chronic stress and depression, it was 4 times as high. So, which is an incredible thing to think of. Just, you're not even talking about diabetes, lack of exercise, obesity, high blood pressure. You're just talking about chronic stress and depression, the risk of cognitive impairment. And they're just focusing on Alzheimer's. It's dementia, it's Alzheimer's, it's Parkinson's, it's cognitive impairment, it's memory, it's recall, it's neural inflammation that is going to lead to a lot of other problems, including what I think is even muscular dystrophy, Lou Gehrig's, and multiple sclerosis, and autoimmune diseases of the central and peripheral nervous system. Okay, so that's that one. Now, this is a little different, and this is on researchers find a cause, and we're going to put it all together. So we got the oxidative stress leading to increased heteroplasmy, meaning mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative stress leading to the zombie cells, inflammation, not being able to repair because you don't have good mitochondrial function, which is actually allows our cells to recognize that something's damaged and replicate. Oh, let me just see if there's okay. Now, this is research finding the cause of Parkinson's disease. Now, our recent understanding has primarily revolved around the genetic factors responsible for familial cases, things that run in the family, while the causative factors in the vast majority of patients remain unknown. So everybody's been focusing on, is there any family history of Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or even dementia? I mean, we're going to overlap here. these guys focus on one thing, but you could really relate it to a lot of other neurodegenerative conditions. For the first time, we can show that mitochondria, the vital energy producers within the brain cells, particularly neurons, undergo damage, leading to disruptions in mitochondrial DNA. So they're zombie cells, they're senescent, they're corrupted, they're poisonous. This initiates the spread and spreads the disease like wildfire through the brain. Our findings establish that the spread of the damaged genetic material, the mitochondrial DNA, causes, now remember, this is bad, corrupted DNA, not obviously the healthy stuff, causes the symptoms reminiscent of Parkinson's disease and its progression to dementia. The disease affects over 10 million people worldwide. While there's currently no cure, certain medications can offer relief of its symptoms. Now, small fragments of mitochondrial DNA spreads the disease. By examining both human and mouse models, researchers discovered that the damage to the mitochondria in brain cells occurs and spreads when these cells have defects in antiviral response genes. So again, it's specific genes within the mitochondrial DNA, they're corrupted, and when that starts to leak out, basically, it's just, think of it just as poison. They sought to understand why this damage occurred and how it contributes to the disease. Their search led to remarkable revelations. Small fragments of actually DNA from the mitochondria released into the cell. When these fragments of damaged DNA are misplaced, they become toxic to the cell, promoting nerve cells to expel this toxic mitochondrial DNA. So mitochondria put it into the cell, and then the nerve cells actually are expelling it outward. Given the interconnected nature of brain cells, this toxic DNA fragment spreads to neighboring and distant cells, similar to an uncontrolled forest fire sparked by a casual bonfire. Okay, so we got neurodegenerative disease caused by zombie cells created by stress, oxidative stress. So you can see the cause in the effect, and we'll get into some handling of that. Now, this what it is something that I think is interesting. I'm not going to get into the actual menthol and it handling Alzheimer's disease, because they're looking at a cause and effect. I'm going to look at a little more at a quantum level rather than a linear. So it's a recent study that showed that the chemical compound can stop some damage done to the brain that's usually associated with Alzheimer's disease. It reduced this interleukin-1, bad guy, interleukin-6, bad guy when it's uncontrolled. There's a thing called T regulatory cell inhibition. You guys will see where I'm going with this. I mean, we're not going to get into describing these. Not good stuff, okay? But the menthol helped to reduce it, and it's the runaway interleukins and upregulated or turned on T regulatory cells that create a lot of these problems, and menthol just reduced them, brought things back down to normal. So they focused on the olfactory system. Surprisingly, we observed that short exposures of the substance for 6 months prevented cognitive decline in the mice with Alzheimer's, and was most interesting, also improved the cognitive ability of healthy young mice. Now, I'm not saying that it's not the menthol. Menthol actually may have something to do with it. What I'm looking at is this. Now, I'm going to pretend she's got a smile on her face. That having this, well, let me just read this last little, let's see. Oh, this part right here. Indeed, diseases related to the central nervous system, such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and schizophrenia, also often come with loss of smell. This new research adds some promising data, but plenty more is needed in humans as well as mice. So COVID people, cytokine storm, loss of smell, huge oxidative stress inside of their body. I have a hypothesis that having this amazing smell brought a little joy or calmed the person down. For a minute while they were smelling this, what if they remembered something of their childhood, or that scent did something just to calm their central nervous system down, just enough. I may have shown you guys this model that I came up with. I'm sure somebody else had to if I came up with it. I'm not the most brilliant human in the world, but it seemed logical to me. Gravity is flowing down both sides of the tipping point. Here is health on this side. Gravity is pushing you towards health. Our innate ability is to be healthy, is to create homeostasis and balance within the body. So it's actually in our design to be healthy. It takes work to push up this pyramid to get to the side of disease. But once it gets on the bad side of the tipping point, gravity is pushing towards disease, and disease now becomes the norm, and disease actually accelerates. And then it takes effort to actually get you to the right side of the tipping point. What if these people are just at the top of this tipping point and need barely a little nudge to get over? It reduces their oxidative stress, which reduces their inflammation, which decreases heteroplasmy, which increases mitophagy and autophagy, and the body begins to heal. These are not extremely advanced people who've lost so much function that they're way down here. I'm assuming these people are somewhere near the top. That's my hypothesis. There may actually be something in the scent, and that the compound is attaching to the neuron and it's creating some sort of additional mechanism in the body. I would love to believe that it's a very happy, calming scent, and that people are actually able to relax and get out of their whatever is occupying their head, or that inflammation that is affecting their body, or EMF, or whatever it might be. Now, to show how you can never separate a piece from the whole, remember when I was showing you interleukin-6 and the T regulatory inhibition? What they did was they came up with a drug that inhibited these T regulatory cells that created the same benefit as the menthol did. But if we go to this is a new, and now we're not going to even get into this at all. I'm just going to show you the picture. New comprehensive review strengthens case for the mouth-gut axis. And this is basically periodontal disease in the mouth microbiome, swallowing it, and then leading to irritable bowel disease, which is like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, things like that. But this diagram right here is a shit show. Like every possible bad thing you could imagine happening is going on in that diagram. But if you look at the bottom right, you're going to, or sorry, it's you're going to look at towards the bottom right, you're going to see the T regulatory cells. You look at all the inflammatory interleukins in there. So all the disease and this oxidative stress can create disease distant from its origin. And just to highlight how common this is, the most common cause of tooth loss in adults worldwide is periodontitis. It's found in approximately half of adults over the age of 30, and over 70% of adults over the age of 65. That's huge. So think of this, 65 is close to 70. This puts such a burden on the body that it increases the oxidative stress of the body, which leads to the senescent cells, which decreases the heteroplasmy rate. Everything is interconnected, okay? So to bring this kind of home, we need to take a step back and think about how we're living our life and how we're taking care of our body, from routine diagnostics, looking at every one of these markers could be measured. Common ones, the most common and simplest, $19 on a LabCorp test, C-reactive protein, highly sensitive. You can look at vitamin B1, a little bit more expensive. I use that to detect heteroplasmy. It's not a direct marker, but it's basically a 0 to 100 test. When it's below 70%, I say heteroplasmy rate's at 70%. If it's 50%, I say heteroplasmy rate is at 50%. I've over the years been able to correlate people's vitamin B1 status to the severity of their disease or how unhealthy they are. They'll have multiple things going on. Some hormonal stuff, mood stuff, memory stuff, sleep stuff, sugars. They'll just have all this stuff. Their body's basically falling apart at the seams. So I'll use that one. That's an easy one. That's, I think, 49 or 69 bucks on a LabCorp test. So routine diagnostics, and then looking at, are you flossing? Are you only brushing your teeth once a day? Are you ever grounding, being out in the sun, exercising? What are you eating? And you almost have to go, if you know this data and you don't apply it, then it's almost that you're saying, I purposefully want to be sick. I hate actually saying that, but when you actually know the data, if you know running a red light is illegal and you know it could kill somebody and you could get a ticket, but you do it, you're doing it knowing the consequences. You're hoping you get away with it. Same with not taking care of yourself. You're hoping you get away with it. But eventually, if you keep doing it, running the red light, thinking, man, I'm luckiest guy in the world. I'm going to get away with it. I'm never going to get busted. I'm never going to get hit. One day it will happen. And when it happens, it's going to happen hard and you're not going to be able to recoup from it. So I'm going to leave you at that. I'm just going to think if there's anything else that I want to put to this. Okay. So as you've always heard me say, sun, grounding, exercise, get your sleep, try to live your life based on like an ancestral life. That would be amazing. Love, gratitude, thankfulness, be social, control what you can, accept what you can't, don't sweat the little stuff. By doing this, you're decreasing that oxidative stress inside your body. And it's not about what I could put in. I don't take one single supplement that I purposefully take going, I'm taking this to reduce my oxidative stress. I'm doing things in insurance policy because I'm getting older going, hey, research says if I take this, I might live longer. I have no idea if that's ever going to pan out or not. When I'm 90 some odd years old and I'm still alive and healthy, I'll look back and say, maybe that was the cause. I'm going to live my life and not rely on substances and just add substances kind of like as a little insurance policy, but not have to take them to purposely negate something. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and recording and then open this up to questions. So let me end the video first.